Okay, so we're trying several different egg alternatives for baking some cake. We got some Duncan Hines classic yellow cake. All the ingredients for that are vegan. We have some flaxseed meal. We have a flax egg that we tried for our first cake batter mix, and we are trying the Follow Your Heart vegan egg, which is very expensive. So I'm kind of hoping that it's not the best of the ones that we're trying today. We've also got some just regular Betty Crocker rich and creamy cream cheese, which also has no dairy products or egg in there. It says may contain milk ingredients, but as we know, that's just a disclaimer for people with allergies. So our experiences so far, we've got our Follow Your Heart. The batter looks great. It's just, looks like cake batter should look. However, you can definitely taste the black salt in it, so you can taste that kind of fartiness that's underneath it all, which is, it is what it is. It tastes more like eggs. The flax egg that we made, that took about 10 minutes. We put, 1.5 tablespoons? Yeah, so we took 1.5 tablespoons of the flaxseed meal, put it in water for 10 minutes, and then mix it up. We used a KitchenAid blender for both of these, and the flax cake batter tastes a lot better because there's not that underlying black salt in it. But it originally didn't look as great, but once it got all blended, it looks perfectly fine. So we're going to pop these in the oven and see how they come out. Okay, so these have just come out of the oven. We've noticed that they are not as brown as a normal egg cake. This is our first time trying any kind of a vegan cake recipe. But yeah, neither of them got particularly brown. I mean, the flax one is a little more brown around the edges, which is interesting. But they're also both a little on the flat side, which is actually an improvement because you don't necessarily want that dome top because that makes it harder to stack a cake. But we also noticed that they both receded a little bit from the edges of the pan, and also they don't really seem like they kind of blew up as much as they normally would have if it was a regular egg. So we'll see how that works out. I expect it'll probably be fine. I will say that the kitchen right now smells eggy, and that's because this Follow Your Heart, the black salt is really, it definitely carries that eggy smell. So it smells like a regular egg cake in here. Alright, so we got round 2 on our egg replacing antics. So for this batch, we've used some of the unsweetened applesauce, just some basic Trader Joe's kind, whipped up nicely. It looks pretty good. However, you can see that there's a little bit more graininess in the batter. For the other half of this cake, we've used the Ener-G egg replacer, which even though it looks like the design is from the 70s, it actually is all vegan ingredients, all good stuff that is not going to be too bad for you. And this one actually whipped up really smooth and silky. So that's kind of a good sign so far. I don't expect the applesauce one to be terrible, but it is what it is. Now I will say that on the back of the box for the Ener-G, it did say that it doesn't work with all cake mixes, so you have to kind of just do trial and error. But so far it's looking pretty good. It's looking like it came out pretty well. We've got our first batch sitting over here resting. This is the flax cake. The top of it, it's really the bottom. But the bottom kind of came off a little bit more in the pan, but not so bad. And then chilling under here is our Follow Your Heart, which came out looking beautiful. Alright, so here is round 2 of the cakes. We have on the left, we have the applesauce cake, and on the right, we have the Ener-G egg replacer. You can see that there's a few bubbles in both of these. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but I don't think it's necessarily because of either of the egg replacing substances that we used here. I will say that for each of these, they did require a little bit more time, so we took them in at, we checked it out at 25, which is where the first hole comes from. It was still moist. We stuck a little chopstick in there and found out it was still moist, so we put it in for another 3 minutes, and now it's clear. It's good to go. Both of them are looking pretty good. So we're going to let these cool, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so here's the big comparison shot. We have Get the vegan egg. So as you can see, it's very nice and even. Get the flaxseed egg. We have the cake that was made with applesauce. Looks nice and rich and spicy. And we have the Ener-G egg replacer, which looks pretty even, but it did leave a lot that just kind of stayed in the pan, so it is what it is. So what we're going to do with these, we're going to actually take them all and we're going to make them into square cakes, and that way we can try a little bit of them individually and see what we like best. Okay, so we've tested them, we have tasted them, and we do have a winner in mind. So the vegan egg, it's very dense, and I think one of the reasons for this could be that in the instructions it says if you're baking, use a little less water in your vegan egg. So I used, for 1.5 eggs, I used half a cup of water. So that's the amount that you would expect for one egg. So it is more dense, it's more, would you say it's custardy?
Yeah, it's
okay,
custardy.
it's more custardy. So the flax egg did a pretty good job. Like, if you don't feel like buying any extra specialty items, I think this is probably the best bet. It does look a little different. It's lighter. Obviously it didn't end up being as dense as our vegan egg here. But it tastes good. It doesn't have any kind of off-putting flavors or anything, so this is a solid number 2 slot. Our applesauce, it worked out pretty well. It does retain an apple flavor, so if you're looking for an apple cake, this is a really good choice. Yeah, with like some cinnamon, maybe some, like if you want to do a whipped cream topping or something like that. And texture-wise, it's pretty good. It's it doesn't really fall apart or anything, so I think the applesauce did a good job. It's a nice kind of, it's a good option. And lastly, our favorite was the 70s stylings of the Ener-G egg replacer. It just made a really nice light, and it's like almost like a sponge cake kind of a consistency. So it worked really well. As you can see, this one crumbled off a little bit, but it's a very nice, very tasty cake, and we ended up saving the best for last. So we kind of agree that in our order, the egg replacer, the flax egg, the applesauce, and lastly the vegan egg. Now I may try that again in the future with different measurements for the eggs. We still have some of the vegan egg left to play with, but for now that's what it looks like is going to be our favorites. So thankfully you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a vegan egg replacement. You have many options available to you wherever you are. You can find something like flaxseed, or even just basic applesauce will do the trick. But yeah, that Ener-G egg replacer does a good job. And here's the finished product. Sorry, I've already cut it and we already enjoyed it. But as you can see, we just took all 4 of the layers and we stacked them. So we've got our top layer where we put applesauce, then flaxseed, and then I think we put the egg replacer, and on the very bottom is that dense vegan egg. So that's how it came out, and we're going to enjoy eating it.